All right. We are on the air. All right. No more problems like we had the other night. So tonight, it's our Friday night program, and we are talking here on We the People about how things have progressed in Minneapolis since the death of George Floyd, and what is being done in the neighborhood around there. So tonight I have two citizens of Minneapolis that I'm going to talk and let them share their views on what's the proposals are down there. I see Mr. Scott uh, presumably will come in at some time, but right now I'm looking for Miss Sims. I see her there. Uh, Miss Sims,
Greetings.
greetings. How are you this evening?
I'm present and accounted for. That's all I'll admit to. And
Okay.
and your opening, I heard you said you wouldn't have any more problems like we did the other night. Were you calling me a problem? Plus, yesterday I gave
No, 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 no,
okay,
no,
so you called me a problem. Just joking.
no, no.
I realize you have so many things going. You probably get screwed up a lot, maybe.
Well, I have changed the format of the show that you usually be on to a certain extent, just because of the current political climate. So this show is now called We the People, and I hope it has a little bit of everyone represented, even though people know my particular personal views. Uh, I thought I'd diverse a little bit this year, and I have actually reached out to some of the other side to bring some points up. I'm actually wanting to bring back the young lady that went to the CETOPAC conference, uh, and we had her on talking about child pornography and things of that nature.
Wow.
But tonight we're going to concentrate on what's happening in the city of Minneapolis, especially uh, the particular area around what we had deemed years ago as George Floyd Square. And Miss Sims, you were one of the first people that talked about the plans and the proposals for the square. But there are some things that have changed at this particular point. You have some businesses that are now suing the city for, I believe, $49 million or somewhere around in that area. And I believe you've had a couple of meetings concerning what's happening there. So the title of tonight's show is George Floyd, Hero, Villain, or Martyr. And Miss Sims, I want you to kind of take us through, excuse me, some of the things that have been proposed.
Well, listening to you brings back some memories because I've kind of been out of that loop a little bit because bigger bushes are burning in my ward. I live in Ward 5. Mr. Scott lives in Ward 4, and I believe that's where the square is, George Floyd Square is over that way. And you're right, the time that I was more involved in it, there was a lot of uh, hurly and squirrely going around. And as I read the statements that you sent, the paragraphs and stuff, it doesn't surprise me where things are at, and kind of the usual that's going on in regards to how people act and their behaviors. And once money gets into the mix, then a different flavor comes in. And I'm glad to hear you say that. And some of your guests, I don't know whether it will be on this show or other show, that you want to hear the other side. And I always feel that there's at least two sides to everything. And in life, just generally. And I always take time to listen, to see, hear what's going on, what people are saying or not saying. And I've been a community organizer for years and years. And so you meet a lot of different people and come across in a lot of different areas. But one of the things that I've learned most valuable to me as I came along the path there is that if you there's always that tension between the racial issues, because that's what we've been taught. A lot of us don't know how to the best way to deal with it, and we visually see each other different shades and color. But one of the things that I tuned into was a person's behavior will tell you more so than you realize. Listen to what they say and watch their behavior, and they'll tell you a lot, maybe more so than they realize. And so that's the first thing that I do and try to listen to see what's going on. And I don't know really. I tell you, um, um, when I read the stuff that you sent across to me, it brought back it brought back tears to me, James. It really did, because it kicked into my humanity of the situation and what I saw, the actual, the knee on the neck and things like that. And I was reading it, as I normally prepare for things, as probably you do. And then visuals came back into my mind in terms of what went on, what I saw at that time, and my humanity kicked in, and literally came to tears, and I had to stop what I was doing and come away from that because it was so overwhelming in how things are now. It really doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Although in going back into it, there may be some positive things going on, James. Like you said, there's two sides, the other side. But history tells me, and people's behavior tells me, that there's the good, bad, and the ugly going on in the whole thing. One of the things I thought about, though, in asking you, James, because you don't live in Minneapolis, you live in California. Do you find that this issue is still in people's mind across the country in other areas than just Minnesota, or have they forgotten stuff?
Well, a lot of this, your governor ran for office.
Yeah.
So, a lot of this, brings back, like uh, the one of the things, when he was debating is how he handled the situation. So it was brought back to the forefront. And then, as I usually have Mr. Scott on my sports show, but we had been talking about the situation, and he was rather upset
Mm-hmm.
about some of the plans. Well, not only the plans, but also the perception of George Floyd, and
Oh.
that's and that's one of the things that was actually the reason for me naming the show "Hero, Villain, or Martyr,"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because how other than the people that are in that particular neighborhood, how do people perceive George Floyd? Do they perceive, is he perceived as, that thief or criminal? Is he perceived as, the person uh,
Yeah.
brought down the Minneapolis Police Department to a certain extent, or is he considered a hero in the black community? I mean, not all heroes come from uh,
Right. Right.
those lavish backgrounds. I mean, look at Malcolm X. I mean, Dr. King was a
Right.
pool hustler before he was I mean,
Right.
so we all have our, our demons, or whatever you want to call it. So how do people perceive George Floyd now, when it's what, 4 years later?
Right. And one of the things that has happened to me and slowed me down from being as active I am used to be with my health issues in terms of energy level, not really being able to real arthritic knees and stuff. But I try to stay focused on things that are going on the across my computer, like, and Zoom is really one of the things that has come out of the COVID shutdown is me being able to meet and greet people over the phone. I mean, over the computer. One of the things, though, that during that time and follow up, and you mentioned people had gotten into um, Mr. Floyd's background. I really didn't know his background or what he was involved in his connections to the police department and how familiar they were with him until until days later when I started after got beyond the first layer of what was going on, and then I got to thinking, well, what is going on, what's behind this, because there's always something going on behind the scenes. The first thing that you see with your eyes isn't necessarily the real issue, and it's like the power behind the power. Politically, people think that, as an example, the presidency, being president, is the main thing in terms of the prize. You remember that song, "Keep Your Eye on the Prize," but really, the prize is what that person brings to the table and the people he brings to the table, because that person, a president, can bring to the table Supreme Court justices who can stay in there until they die, but a president can only serve 8 years. And so when I start diving into more of the background of Mr. Floyd and his bumps with the police department, one of the things that I found out, and one of the stoppings that they did with him, was right in front of my church, the church that I went to. In terms of, it seems like they really kept track of what he was doing and all such as that. And so I think when people try to build that up, his by that the policemen were justified in some of the things that that they did or were keeping track of him because of the visual that we saw and stuff, that didn't play well. I think that didn't come across as strongly and as upfront as adversaries thought it would. People actually went to the humanity of what was going on. And as I watched, as I didn't watch it maybe the day that it happened, but it was close to. And now, as I watched what was going on, and I also was watching the behavior of the other policemen that were around, that were standing guard, etc., etc.
Trainees.
They played a role in that also.
Yes.
And nobody brought. Well, it was brought more so later, and I even followed after the police. I forget his name. His trial and stuff. I went back and watched how went back to City Hall and legal system, the courts, to see how the other, I think it was three other police officers were
Right.
there, how they were being dealt with, and the things that they were, how they were being held accountable, and they kind of scooted out of it. But and now, you sent 6 sections for us to think about. I'm gonna name them off, and I'll tell you, unless you want to get something in. I don't want
Go ahead.
to. Okay. Um, Section 1: framing George Floyd's legacy. 2: community impact and development. 3: business lawsuits and economic accountability. 4: public safety and systematic change. 5: memorization and controversy. 6: political and social implications. And 7: long-term vision and moving forward. And as I looked at those topics, I thought, is James doing all this thinking on his own? Those are areas of what's going on behind here, behind that. But 2 areas that I zoomed into, and I just mentioned it to you, and it's because of my background, was number 2, community impact and development, which we're talking about in terms of what they're going to do now, how far it's gone, and numbers.
Let's concentrate. Let's concentrate on that then. Community first or memorial first? You've got many proposals. All of them emphasize permanent memorials. But should the focus be on economic recovery and empowering the local community first? How can the city balance becoming Floyd's memory, honoring Floyd's memory with revitalizing the neighborhood?
Those 2 things.
You can take it off in sections. You don't have to take it all at once.
No, the things that you mentioned to me are 2 worlds apart, because what happened to him, it's going to be out there forever. If you do the economic building and things that maybe people are proposing, through the years and whatever, people that will come and go, but right now they're struggling to get it going. I think that, and I thought of, what impact the community and stuff, the community, whether they realize it or not, has power and a lot of pull and say so, but they don't realize it. As a community, we don't realize it, because through the years we've been told that we don't have power, that the people that are, making the decisions politically and whatever, they're the ones that have the power, when really it's just the opposite, because we, the community, have put those people in place to help deal fairly and justly with what's going on, not only for us, but everybody else around us. And so once a lot of politicals, once they get in that position, they forget that. Their mind goes, they believe that they're the end all and be all, also act that way, and we respond that way. But like right now, one of the impacts on the community, not only there but all over, is Minneapolis is divided into 13 wards, and each ward is having an election in, I think it's August. So we could have a whole new set of people in there. Here's where some of the power comes in from the community, from the community. As we are, and I've got people calling me all day. I mean, on my phone, it goes to voice messages, the politicals already, not only locally, but also nationally, calling, asking for my support, et cetera, et cetera. And so that, whether people realize it, that is a way of people being able to sense, hey, I have power here. Those people cannot exist in their jobs, etc., unless we give the go ahead for that, for them, and vote them in and whatever. The politicians or the ones that are running, they know that. They realize the political game. That's why they're calling. That's why they'll spend money and time and energy doing an election to put that in. And so the community at this time, as we're having various council meetings and things like that, here's where we can say to them and let them know what we think of what's going on in terms of the Floyd Center up there, because right now it's so politically charged that we can say, we don't like this. It's not going to come easy, but it's the way of saying, if it comes down to it, listen, you're not going to get my vote unless you get in there and you before the elections and let the community come right out and let the community know where you're coming from. Three things that all politics involve worldwide is in terms of a strategy. You develop a strategy, power, and I forget the third one. But you develop politicians have to develop a strategy to gain power or to stay in power. And the community at this point, it's a very brief period of time, as you know, when you vote one day you get to vote. But think of all the days that they are out wanting to get us to vote for them so they can be in there and do their thing. For me, personally, I've been thinking, I've thought for a while that, and I didn't realize until a while back, I've always felt that it was time for all of the present city council members to go, because I've listened and watched them, how they interact with each other and how they distance themselves from each other in regards to trying to claim, certain their constituents. It's like each ward lives on its own, and instead of talking about among each other and having meetings among each other, it's almost like a race. They're kind of racing against each other, and we, the community, are being left out of it because
but now, Ms. Sims, is it that the community? I can't say that the community. Well, I don't know how things work in your particular city but here in San Diego, you have council meetings, and if you don't show up to these council meetings, if all you do is put these people in office, and then you don't show up to council meetings when they are proposing some of this preposterous stuff, then they think that they have a rubber stamp.
Right. That you're right. And you just can't put people in place and then go away, vote for them and go away. And that's generally the behavior of society in general, except the ones that are in the know, that really hang in there for years and know the ins and outs. You're right. It's just kind of like the Obama thing. You people, and all people was wanting a change, a new hope, and they elected him twice, and then they went away, and he was kind of fighting battles of his own on the inside in Washington and whatever. A lot of people did not tune into to watch the meetings that were going on or what people were doing to him. I realize we can't see every little bit that goes on and what's going on, and that's one of the
Mitch McConnell came out and said that He's a lame duck president. We're not going to let him put anything. They wouldn't even let him elect a Supreme Court justice.
Right, right. And here was a time, I don't know if he and his supporters or group sent a message out to me. That was an emergency call to put the message out to gather the troops. You're a military man, to gather the troops together, develop a strategy to go back in, because we are in a war right now, and people don't realize it, in a war. And to me, with the election of the guy that's in there, and the Republicans getting in power, I think
40,
people
you can call him 47 on my show.
27 people got so disappointed and hurt and harm and whatever, and they went away. Right now, they've gone away. But it's kind of like when you're in a war and you fought a battle, and you've been you haven't been real successful in fighting that battle. What you do, you leave some troops out there, but other troops retreat and go back and develop a strategy to get back in there, right? Because battle, you fight a lot of battles, troops in the
Ideally,
war.
yes, that's right. Ideally, that's what you do.
Yeah,
You leave
right,
one, unit there to
and
make sure that you don't
right,
lose the ground that you gained.
right, and I guess for me personally, and I'm looking and hunting for others to somehow get, people start realizing that the battle now, the presidential battle, has been decided in terms of who's there, but you still have power locally. Like right now, you can start making some changes and making sure that what the presidential level, nationwide, a lot of times the states can counteract what maybe the government has said, because a lot of times state state things kind of trumps what's going on nationally, but people don't realize that. I think some people don't, and I think more and more, as it's hitting home, getting closer and closer to everybody, how screwy and how things are, people are starting to pay attention, especially the younger ones, the Xers and the whatever genera- younger generations. We're old school and things like that. But to get the word out, hey, you got brokenhearted at the national level. Now keep some troops out there federally, at the federal level. Don't leave even the Republicans, or there's still some Democrats out there in the Senate and the House and whatever, and listen to what's going on. And then you see some of the troops attention back locally, wherever you live, to see what's going on, and help your the local level needs help too, and your support. And that's where our immediate power is, locally. Things that happen to us locally.
Let me ask you this: what are the black or predominantly black precincts in your town? I'm assuming your ward, Mr. Scott's ward. Uh, how many predominantly? I think what you said, there were 16 wards, or
13 wards.
and how many of those are dominated by uh, uh, black or brown constituents?
Well, I could say that the ward that I live in, five would be the at one point, and I don't know, um, at a level that we are high in black folk and persons of color, because over the years they use the other wards and stuff, use Ward 5 as a dumping ground to put black folk and the people of less income and stuff. They didn't want black folk in their wards, so they made rules and regulations so we couldn't live there. And so through the years, North Minneapolis, this is where I live, has become was a dumping ground over the years and years. But as time has changed, this area is prime property now because you've got two light rail systems, three light rail systems coming in. You've got at one point and right across within 500 feet, you have the professional baseball stadium. Right across the street from the baseball stadium is a professional basketball stadium. A mile down the road is the professional football stadium. And so money sees money. Money power recognizes power. So this is and you got people coming in, developers coming in, even in our area. They want to take over with the light rail. They want to take over and this kept me awake at night, my property and where we live, so that I'm not able to pass on prosperity to my children. That's where my focus has been versus on the south side where Mr. Floyd and Anthony are. They're fighting over there to survive, and we certainly are fighting. And there's a park right about 3 or 4 blocks from me. That can be a money maker. It stays open all year round. It has skiing in it, cross country skiing, bike trails, whatever. And at one point, I would drive through there, and one of the things that has happened to this area, white folks from the surrounding cities come into our area to do things, to do activities. I would go to the park sometime, and there would be 10 school buses lined up with students to come into the chalet. While cross country, they've got bike trails now. While at the same time, our children and a lot of our people that live in white, black, and green don't realize how prosperous and how much fun and how much a money maker that park is. It's a hidden jewel. And at one point, the light rail was going to come through there until they switched plans. And so that's one of the things that really irks me about politicians, people who are running politically. Don't talk about the positive things. It's all sure there's two sides to everything. We have people with less income need housing. And we are out there humanely trying to support each other with that. But there are positive things going on. And a golf course.
Miss Scott, Miss Sims, let me ask you this. Why is it, and I know that, if Mr. Scott was here, I know this would really touch a nerve, but isn't Ilhan Omar from Minneapolis?
The state representative, yes. You're talking about the female?
Yes.
I think she represents this area on the federal level, but finish your thought.
I want to know, why is it that the Somali community can get themselves together and send a representative to Congress, but it seems like our community can't get that together? What's the difference between, because I know they only make up a small population of Minneapolis and surrounding. I mean, you have more Native Americans than you do Somalis. You don't have a Native American that represents Minneapolis.
I understand.
What is the difference there?
I understand what you're saying, because I thought the same. I wondered about that myself a while back, and then I got to thinking, and I realized that as various immigrants, whoever they are, coming to this country, you got to remember their the system of living. They are still communal. They come in and want to live near each other and do for each other. While in the United States, not only us black folk, but just socially and generally, we are taught to get on your own. At 18, you're out of you're out of here on your own. Whereas one of the strong things that I noticed as I worked out in the community, a lot of these immigrants that are coming in, they can be poorer than I am, are still communal. They live communal. They haven't time and other people haven't destroyed that from them. That's a plus they have. And so when they come in as a community, they can live in different areas of the city, but all of them are live communally. Now, once you start getting in, say, develop relationships with people within those various communal groups, a lot of times they battle each other. But if you don't know, if you're on outside and don't know what's going on, you wouldn't realize, because when it comes voter town, and they realize how powerful a vote is and what it can do, because they weren't able to do that wherever they were coming from, or wherever they were coming from was different. And so their communal way of thinking, especially the earlier ones that came in, was still communal. Once they learned the system and how to work the system, and that voting was part of the system, and a really easy way to get in power if you work communally. And so while that's happening, at the same time, black folk are believing that our votes don't count. Remember, during our time, and that's one of the things during our generations. Three things: your vote doesn't count, so why vote? Marriage is just a piece of paper, and women can go without bras, and it won't hurt them. All of that. So and so, while we've been taught and have bought into voting doesn't count, and a lot of times, even nowadays, candidates that come forth, people's mind are on, especially if they know them personally. Oh, I don't like this person. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. And you have to expand, especially when you got people that are running, candidates that are running, and they have similar backgrounds. You have to hold your nose sometime and choose one. But you got to get to know. You got to listen and watch their actions, where they're coming from, because everybody has certain things that about them, their personality, that can be a plus or can be a minus. So we have that's one of the reasons why I've gotten back into the game per se, even though I'm ill or whatever, is to try to undo or try to get the message out that our generation emphasized, and a lot of what wasn't passed, a lot of our generation passed that message down through the generations that still here, that still believe that. But once you start talking to them and get people to expand their way of thinking, then it comes to them. Oh yeah. And for me, the word empower, I'm gonna empower this. That kind of rubs against me, because I can't empower anybody, but I can remind that person that they do have power, and how they can use that power. Because I don't have any power to go on with a magic wand and tap you on the head, James, and say this and that. But I can remind people and teach them, you've got power already. You just don't know and realize it. And once that way of thinking goes, it changes them. And I experienced this through my organizing through the years, that once people realize, wait a minute, an example was is as we've fought issues, MICA, Metropolitan Interfaith Council on Affordable Housing, and we're faith based, and naturally a lot of white churches and things and black. It was hard to get black churches to join, but a few did, and so as we were dealing with various issues, and a lot of the white folk thought it was, a black issue, and they were in there fighting hard. But once a lot of the black folks start saying, "Hey, this affects you too," and they hadn't thought of it in that manner, but once they thought of it in it, that hey, this affects everybody, it made them angry. They really got angry and didn't know, flustered. They didn't know what to do because it was true in regards to, look, we're in this boat together, and you may hate my guts and not want to live near me forever, but somewhere along the line or circle of life, our paths will cross, even if it's through our children or grandchildren, because if you drop dead in the street and I'm the only black person around, you expect me to leave you laying in the street and let cars go over it, things like that. So you have to really do some deep thinking about what's going on, not only your life, but how it connects to other people's life. And I can live, James, you live in California, but somehow you found me, I don't know what, but we can relate to each other.
But now, I I'm really going along with what you're saying, but I'm talking about different actions here.
Okay.
One of the things that we, I think that's our responsibility at our age, and it goes back to the community. Each one teach one.
Yeah.
But how do you get that one to sit down and listen?
Well, number one, the ones that are doing the teaching, we're older now. So we we gotta do extra stuff to get back
Well,
out there,
we don't have no.
and we can
The only
recognize.
thing we can do is sit down. So we, you know,
That's right. And as we get back out there are still groups, social justice groups, racial justice groups. There are still those organizations out there. One of the things to do in terms of, as you're saying, to reach the person is you have to be in connection in some way, or start studying, or start attending these groups or organizations, or listen to where they're coming from, and become involved, even if it's counting the money or going to stuff, and develop relationship building is one of the keys to this reach one teach one. And then you can start talking to people, and here's one area to start talking to people and get them to expand on their thinking. And it's not trying to control a person, or whatever. A person may only, from their own experiences and whatever, only been able to see one, only maybe three-fourths of the pie. But here I come along and I see something's missing, and then because of my relationships and both of us caring what's going on, we can sit down and talk. And we the ones that are still out there, it's it's not an easy job. Number one is time and energy. It can be easy because it's how you communicate. One way how you communicate with people. Even like I said, you may hate my guts. One of the things I have found, and I always ask the groups I'm still connected with, in your group, do people realize there's a difference between equity and justice. And a lot of people think they're the same or interchangeable, but they're different, but they can work together. Justice is everybody in a room, everybody has shoes. That's justice, racial. That's justice because everybody has shoes. Equity is, does each person have the shoes they need? Just like we're talking about um, the Floyd Center area. Is that community going to build something that they can relate to, that that community needs? If I've got in a group and everybody, all God's children has shoes, but I have ballet slippers on, and you have golf shoes on, you shouldn't begrudge me of what I have because we are fitting, we're helping fit each other's needs and what they do, what the needs. And the consequences of people not realizing the difference between justice and equity is jealousy. Because a lot of times, when you don't understand what's going on, you think because I'm out there fighting for equity and realize equity, that I'm going to take something away from you, your power. I, I don't want your sneakers. I don't go to the gym. But I can help you find the best price on sneakers or where to go. So that's working together. But and that even now people fear equity because they don't realize that it's not taking away from them their power, away from them or their goodies. It's just understanding and knowing the difference and be willing to work together and support each other.
But now, you mentioned something a little while ago, and I kind of let it go by. But let's kind of talk about this for a minute. And I'm talking about gentrification. Uh, as you talk about these different redevelopment proposals, the light uh, rail, and all those things of that nature, uh, do you find that there's a risk that gentrification will actually push out the very people that the memorial aimed to uplift? And
It's
how
not a
can you,
risk. It's not a risk. It's a reality. It's a
okay,
reality because there are people that are different levels, different money. They have been watching this from afar for ages to see how the ones that are involved are dealing with each other or conflicts or whatever. And so when they see the opening or when they're ready and they feel they can come in and do what they want to do and do the gentrification, that's what's happened. It's a reality. It's like this area, like I've said, developers have been wanting to get in here for 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 ages, and one of the ways that they are able to do it because of the change in the metropolitan councils um, routing the train, they have been able to get in and move people out. Uh, and in reality, if you have money and you want to do good and have good things, you can do that with the people that are living there right now. But in a lot and people that are a gentrification line, they feel that the only way to have good things and the things they want to do is to get these people out of here, old people out of here, and bring in some new people that maybe have more money or look more like me. And so, and a lot of people that don't realize it, or the people that do realize it, that's fight for, like the organizers and you, like homelessness and things like that. We see it and we fight it, and try to fight it and get people to meetings and things like that. And once, like you said, once people see what's going on, it's a real that is the reality. And sometimes in going to these meetings, at the legislature and stuff, and you listen, you will hear that a lot of the legislatures themselves have been homeless. A lot of them will admit that and how they dealt with it, so they can relate to what going on. But here's the kicker: they can relate and believe what's going on, but their actions have to show it. You know, I was homeless too, etc., etc. But I'm still not going to vote for you to, this money to make sure that something's adequately built for everybody to live on. I'm going to go the usual way, political. If I do this, my colleagues are going to be mad at me and they're not going to vote for something that I want, or the community won't reelect me. So it's politics. It's a game, not a game for fun or anything, but it's a game. And so when I look at politicians and listen to them, I'm listening for a person that knows what's going on. I'm listening for a person that uh, knows the game, knows how the game is played, know who the players are in that game and how to deal with them. Because that person is like being in a war. That person is going to be is going to do what, especially we both agree that's what's just and right. That person is going to be in there, and I don't have to watch them all the time. I can be out there also helping to bring other people along, get other people to see what's going on.
Now, let's talk about policing here for a minute, because my perception of that particular area right now is that it's a no-fly zone for the police, and it's been that way since the incident happened. So,
Explain the term that you're using, no fly.
well, well, I mean, let's say that there's a very low police presence there, if any, from from what we imagine, from what we've heard. But if, number one, there is no trust in the police from the community as a whole, and if all of a sudden you're going to clear out that area, how do you do it without having Minneapolis on fire?
Here again, you have to a strategy, Jane, and to know how your adversary is working and thinking. No, you said no fly zone. I would my definition would have been something different. That's why I asked you what
Well,
you
you
meant.
can use
Yeah, you're
what
probably
would
right.
you call it?
And a lot of people that might listen to this show, I can't get myself on camera, so people I done something to my to my camera may not realize that. But number one is those people here again, people's behavior and organizations' behavior. There are legal consequences, and there are things that out there that they're accountable to, but you won't know it. And one of them is that I always thought about, and very few people thought about, and when I brought it up, it didn't seem to go. Is the police unions? I even went online at one time. It's probably soon after, before or after the Floyd incident, and actually, I was trying to do research, see what was going on within that organization itself, how they were operating, how they were making decisions, so that the decisions that were being made inside that, when they came out to the community to look for it and to try to cut it off, in regards to, because a lot of the things that go on with the union police in the union, I think after the first police chief after the George Floyd was murdered and stuff, it was a woman, and she came from, and I recognized the name because I saw her inside the organization, her activities within the police union itself. And so when she came out and was named police chief or high up there, I knew then that people were letting the unions, the police unions, off in a sense in terms of actually, and I think the city council were scared of the um, a lot of the police union because they had pardon me, a strong presence. Because at one time in the past, I think the black police formed a union of their own to deal with the the bigger police organization. So you have things going on within the police organization itself that's unhealthy, and that's pitting one another, them against each other. But in terms of, but here again, in terms of letting the people know where the weaknesses are, they will shut down, and they pull rank on each other, just like when um, when the policeman had his knee on George. And I wonder, why don't these other policemen say or do something? And they were scared. They were following the training and stuff. But
Right. They were trainees. They wouldn't dare. It's like a private in the army challenging a sergeant. You don't do that. I mean, there are other ways that you can deal with it, but you got one
yep,
guy that I think he was just on the job a week or less than a month, and then the rest of these guys are trainees, you know,
yep,
and this guy is supposed to be, he's supposed to be the man, George.
yep, yep. And you're right. You're right, especially, and you know more about that in being in the military and going through all that. You've experienced some of that. But here's a point where individual you have to make individual decisions in regards to where your humanity is, what you
Yeah,
think
well,
your fellow man.
even a soldier is not supposed. You don't follow an unlawful order, you know. But then again, maybe
You
you.
spend a lot of time trying to figure out what an unlawful order is, and you have to be willing as a person, an individual, if
Take the
consequences come at you, be
consequences.
willing to deal with those consequences.
That's right. That's right. I talk about dealing with consequences all the time. I mean, but it just seems to me, uh, if people, I always thought, and I guess that's coming from, a different part of me, but I always thought that if you could get both sides to the table, that you would have a better chance of having a solution. But when one side is afraid to talk to the other or just won't talk to the other, then how can you come to a creative solution, like I said, without setting Minneapolis on fire?
And that comes, you're talking real reality tonight.
Yes,
Tonight,
I am.
and that's good. And you're thinking, and you're not the only one that has thought of this and thinking and wondering this. It's kind of like,
See, let me tell you why I'm thinking of this, Miss Sims, is because this could be an ignition point for other places in the country that have also either had similar experiences or during the course of like what may be a hot summer or whatever, all it seems to take in this particular political atmosphere where we're all divided, all it takes is one little spark, and we could have a recreation of the summer of '68.
This is this is true, and I was thinking as you're talking, and I lost my chain of thought. James, talk some more, because I was going to have some examples of what you're saying. Oh yeah, I was gonna. It takes in terms of getting beyond adversary actions toward each other. There, and here's where everybody, in a group isn't all bad. There's somebody they may be scared to show it, but in order for them to express themselves and not be afraid to say no to something, or vote no to something, they have to reach down to the toes and pull it out of it to do it. An example, two examples within my organizing, um, two groups. I'm on the advisory board of the Minnesota state organization, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. I'm one of the members that environmental justice advisor to the commissioner. Then there's a second organization that I'm on in regards to equity and justice, and that's the Minnesota Transportation Transportation Agency. Now, within those two organizations, and I'll take the MPCA, the Pollution Control Agency, before I came on board, and within that group itself, there had to be some thinking going on, and somebody out there saying we got to do things differently. We need to involve the community in this decision. We need to outreach into the community, and so they did. And the person that uh, came out into the community and said, "Let's work together. We need to do this together." He was a trailblazer. Now I know from people's behavior, you do too, that everybody inside a company, everybody's not going to be on board there. It could be right as rain, but in terms of decisions that's been made by whomever, the person in charge or a group of people that understand, they're still going to be adversaries no matter what until they something happens um, that they change their mind. So when the first person that came out and reached out to the community, I forget his name, he was a pioneer, and I recognized that. And so it was a new experience for both the community and the organization itself, because the only times that they came together as when they were fighting or had trying to deal with adversary issues in terms of the agency wanted to do something to the community, or they had already done something and now the community was reacting. So they were always pitted against each other. But here comes a decision had been made within that organization. Send out, send out James, send out a scout and let them know we want to make peace. We want to make peace. We want to work together and do this. So it's a new experience for the community, and they're still dealing with trying to get along. And the organization itself, but that's been 5 or 6 years ago. So we've come a long way. And so in the person that reached out to us, they had one of the things they had to do. They had to listen to the community who had been hurt all these years by this organization. They had to listen to the pain and agony and suffering that they personally did and the community did. The person from the organization had to admit, yeah, that wasn't right. That decisions were made that were wrong. Let's do this. This is how we can work together. And so that was one of the reasons that even now I have stayed with the Minneapolis Pollution Control Agency, was to, and I let them know what my personal mission was to uh, bring the community to the table, to the decision making tables as decisions were being made at that point. To recognize that that you could work together through your differences, and a couple other things. Oh, and even though they're adversaries, thing, you expect that in any relationship. But if we're gonna work together, we're gonna tell each other the truth. We're gonna say no to this and no to that. Uh, and an example of that was, I don't know if you were aware of, a while back when I think it was Canada was taking over land in Native American 3 Mile Island. No, was it 3 Mile Island? Maybe up north when they were coming in and trying to.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I forget that little piece. There's a little piece of land up there. Yeah, I know.
yeah,
That,
it's around the White Earth organization, and so
right.
when the MPCA, I call it, I'll just say the agency came out, and they selected. They were real strategic. They selected members from the community all over the state, not just they're located in St. Paul, but they knew that community issues were all over the state. So they had I think it was maybe 20 some 30 of us in the beginning out there fighting battles. At that time, one of the biggest battle that there were several Native Americans on the council, and there were groups that supported what was going on and what wasn't right, and et cetera, et cetera. While at the same time, so the MPCA was here's an example where the agency had to go one way and the community saying they weren't going to go that way. And so what happened, there were a lot of meetings and court battles in regards to what was happening. The community members, but I thought about what was going on. The community members couldn't understand or wouldn't accept some of the roles or things that the agencies were doing, and decisions they were making. But I did some research, and I went to the legislature and I looked up how the legislature set up rules and regulations that the MPCA had to legally abide by. So while a lot of the community members, this is where the group started having adversary experiences. So while the commissioner of the agency legally couldn't make decisions that she knew were right for the community or the way to go, the legislature wouldn't allow that. But a lot of people didn't realize that. And so at one point, when it was a woman at the time with the second leader that reached out to the community, when a decision had to be made, a meeting decision had to be made regarding that oil situation, she didn't go the route that the community thought she would, and so all of a sudden, she lost the community. She lost that agency lost members of the all members except 3 of us, because the community, the environmental justice members group They were focused only on one issue, and that one issue was happening at the time to the Native unjust issue was happening to the Native Americans. They didn't seem to. Their actions said to me, they didn't realize the position that the commissioner was in. She couldn't say yeah. She couldn't make the decision, and so the group got mad at her and quit. I mean, literally, just like overnight, all except
It's
three
good.
of us, me and two other people, because we were there for more than just one issue. We got the bigger picture.
See, it kind of sounds like what we did back in the 60s and 70s. We burned down our house and let the landlord collect the fire insurance. Yeah, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. uh, but Miss Sims, it was good talking with you. I'm sorry Mr. Scott didn't show up. But what do you think is the future of the George Floyd situation? In terms of like I said, you have black businesses that are suing the city, but are they going to take the money and run? Or are they going to come back and reinvest in the community? I mean, do you think that
I'm glad.
there
I'm glad.
is a plan?
I'm glad you asked, James, and some of that involves you. Are not, because it's a political ball that's out there. It's a financial ball that's out there, and that's why I kind of mentioned, and I thought more of it since then, and the structure to it, that you will be willing at some point to have a to host a meeting of the candidates that are running for city council that will making some of the decisions, whether they will go with the decisions that have been made with the old council, whether they have the power to do it or legally binded to, or they come on board making decisions of their own. And my thinking in structuring something like that, it's not to be the usual, answer questions, this and that. Get right down to the nitty gritty in regards to just inviting people from, like you and me and Mr. Scott are from different wards. It would be two rounds. The first round, I think there's only two people in his ward running, but like there's 13 in my ward that's running. So the first round,
You give me some names and numbers, Miss Scott, Miss Sims. I'm not afraid. You know me.
yeah, I think we can work it and work it out. And you're the type of you're a thinker, Jay. You're a thinker. I don't know if you think the right thing all the time, but you're a thinker. You
well,
consider other people's situation,
yeah.
and I think
Well,
it'll be a
I've
part of your
thought
legacy.
myself, you know, I've thought myself into some difficult situations, but once again, like you said, like you have to be able to accept the consequences and know the
Right,
consequences before you go in there. So, I
right,
mean, but yeah, I
and
mean,
yeah. And when you go into enemy territory, you got to know the enemy. Just like I said, I look for candidates that know the game, know how the game's played, know the players in that game. And so when they sit down to that table, they're ready to play. And that's one of the things that I've been thinking about, and I've got to structure it in my mind, and I'm just going to send a proposal or way of thinking to you and Mr. Scott, and so we can work on it together and whatever. But I think, um, and the reason why I say round two rounds, because as the three of us and whoever else we choose, listen to the people that came in the first round. We only asked certain people that made sense and was equal justice to the second round. And the second round of people that would be asking questions would be people that were in the know. Now I know you're into the homelessness issue out there. But in my director, she part of the National Coalition for the Homeless. So she could be in that second round of people. And this would let the candidates know we mean business. It's not business as usual. You got to be in there and take care of business.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. The first,
I will get stuff to you. It may take a little. It's not going to be next week, and I think the election is the 28th August in August. But I'll get that to you. If you have some ideas that you can throw my way that you thought of, think about and want me to dove into or ding around and ask some questions,
all right,
put them out
all
there.
right. All right, it sounds very good to me. Like I said, you give me, I'll help you give me some names and contacts. I'll
Sure.
make some phone calls, write some emails,
Right.
whatever. I
Yeah.
mean,
You're going to officially be the one that maybe extends the invitation. And one other thing on your sports show,
yes, ma'am.
and I love the sports show. I can't understand why nobody has brought up the issue of the of how the Syracuse ate that the black boycott that has set in motion the fellows that sacrificed. They boycotted Syracuse back in the
Yeah,
70s and set it up for the Colorado person, and I think they're making all kinds of money. Well, these young men, they came away. They got to keep the scholarships and finish the college, and 15 years, 35 years later, the new counselor at the and people at Syracuse invited these guys back. I'll send you some stuff on that too.
all right, yeah.
And it might interest you too, because one of the fellows that was part of the boycott um, is has some connection in a way to California because he's Bobby Womack's first cousin, and
Okay, all
so
right.
the Womack family out that way, and so a lot of, and I was hoping that during Black History Month somebody would put this out there because this is history in the making. So I'll send you stuff on that too.
Okay, all right, yeah. It's something that now the football season's over. I always try to bring in some new
Yeah,
guests or something to talk about.
right.
So yeah, let me
Okay.
know and I have no problem. Like I said, not only do you have my email address, but you have my phone number. So
That's That's right. I gotta get a new phone and a computer digging around because I miss my trying to go where go in the doors that weren't supposed to go. So I screwed myself up. So sure,
sometimes you have to kick in the door. You can't always knock.
that's right. That's right. And I'm glad both of us hung in there. And even tonight, I dinged around and messed up my camera up. I didn't realize that these computers had a back camera. And so I came around in the settings and did something. And all I can see, that's the back. This is my hand is the back of the camera. That's why you can't see. Can't
Hey,
see.
but
And so
we can hear you, and
that's right. And I did send out invitations to a community group and on Facebook, so they're gonna be ticked off. I hope not. I just say that more's coming. Hang in there and trust us. More's coming. All right. You continue
I
to
Miss
take,
Sims,
and I hope
you
you
have
enjoy.
a good night. It's about what?
Right. I
About
enjoy talking to
9
you.
o'clock, 10 o'clock your way?
It's 9:30. About 9:30.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're only 2 hours
Oh, what did
behind
you
me.
ask? I'm
So,
sorry. What did you ask?
I,
What did you ask? I maybe I didn't. What did you ask me?
no, no. I was asking you what time it was. I know it's. I thought you were 2 hours, but I wanted to make sure.
Oh
You,
no.
you know.
Okay. Yeah.
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 So. Yeah.
We're 2 hours. Yeah. It's 9:30 our time, Eastern
Okay.
Standard.
So.
Okay, James.
Uh,
Good night to you.
maybe
And
maybe next time we'll
right.
get a chance to see you.
that that's 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 right, James. I got my lipstick on, and I had it on yesterday, and whatever. And I dressed for the occasion. So I'll see you the next time.
All right, Miss Sims, you have a good night.
All right. Good night to you.
Yeah, all right. Uh, yeah, that was Miss Sims from Minneapolis. If you've been on some of our other shows, Miss Sims has been on the show. I really wanted to get some feedback from Mr. Scott tonight. So I'll be talking to him next week. Uh, but this week, be sure and tune in Monday. We'll have a new guest. We will be talking, I believe, to Mr. Ed Reese this week. No, excuse me. Yes, we will. But tune in Monday and look forward to the announcement. As I said, you can subscribe and donate on our YouTube channel. And you can see all of our information on the bottom. Subscribe and donate on YouTube, Cash App, $ JEK3. Have a great night, everyone. I hope we had some useful information for you. And I look forward to talking to you again on Monday, right here on With People. Have a great night, everyone. See you next week.